I'm Alan Spears with Occupy Democrats, and Donald Trump just took another step closer to putting on that orange jumpsuit and seeing the inside of prison. Yes, in a bit of a breaking news, Donald Trump has made a critical error in attempting to avoid prison, and we will be discussing that momentarily. But first, it is important to recognize just how screwed this convicted felon is. Now, as you all are very well aware at this point, Trump was found guilty on all 34 counts levied against him, and he is in a bit of hot water, but he's certainly not alone. In fact, many of Trump's staunchest allies are actually in just about as much hot water as he is. Rudy Giuliani is in fact facing a multitude of legal problems, and his financial woes are only just beginning, as we've recently seen him resorting to selling coffee. Lauren Boebert, who is a Colorado Republican and MAGA nutcase, along with so many others, is actually facing a defamation lawsuit, and we did a video on that yesterday. Check it out if you haven't. Then, of course, there's Marjorie Taylor Greene, who seems to be doing her darndest to become the world's actual first supervillain, and has said a number of different controversial things that have her kind of backpedaling as of now. All of that is to say that Donald Trump and all of his crony allies are finally starting to see some ramifications for their actions and their words, and this house of cards they've built upon a bedrock of lies is starting to crumble. Now, with all of these guilty verdicts against Trump, you can be assured that he's going to be attempting to get these appealed, and is going to do his best to receive a minimum sentencing if, in fact, he has any semblance of a sentencing. However, as of late, he has made a number of different slip-ups that have seriously cost him. We have a number of different videos here on Occupy Democrats that cover Donald Trump's mistakes and slip-ups, so definitely feel free to check those out. But today we are going to be focusing on the catastrophic failure of Trump to turn over all 3 of his guns. Yes, in some brutal and upsetting news for Trump, authorities have learned that despite Donald Trump declaring that he possesses 3 different firearms, he has failed to turn those over to the authorities. Now, while these firearms were originally registered legally and lawfully, Donald Trump is now a convicted felon on 34 counts, in case you forgot. Now, as a convicted felon, it is a federal crime for Donald Trump to own or possess any firearms or ammunition. Now, this is a huge deal. If Trump is still in possession Now, this is an absolutely huge deal. If Trump is in possession of one of his firearms, or has a firearm that he hasn't disclosed or has the permits to own, he could be in some seriously hot water, way more than he was prior to this. Now, according to CNN, it was reported that 2 of the 3 pistols that Trump was licensed to carry were turned over to the NYPD back last year. Now, apparently there was a 3rd gun listed on Trump's license, and it was, quote, lawfully moved to Florida. Florida, of course, being the haven of Trump and his compound Mar-a-Lago. Now, this might all seem like it's above board and everything's going as it should. However, there's a lovely little twist to this story that absolutely blew my mind. CNN was contacted last week by the Palm Beach police, and they said they were unaware of any gun that Trump might have, and that none had been turned over to their department since his felony conviction. That can only mean that Trump still has his 3rd firearm in Florida with him. But knowing Donald Trump, he probably thought he could tie it to a brick and throw it in the ocean or a river, and it would be fine. Now, since Trump was arrested last year, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office actually was capable of suspending his license to carry. And because he was convicted and found guilty on all 34 counts, his license is officially being revoked. Now, according to an official who is a part of this probation investigation, they said that they will, quote, be referred to local authorities in Florida to take whatever steps are necessary. This is absolutely devastating news for Trump, because if he is found guilty of possessing a firearm illegally while being a convicted felon, which is, again, a federal crime, he could see an additional 3 to 5 years minimum tacked on to his sentencing, as well as a huge fine. Now, the New York City Department of Probation Commissioner Juanita Holmes, who is effectively serving as Donald Trump's probation officer, was present at the meeting that took place yesterday. And with the revelation that Trump has not turned over all of the firearms he legally owns and has registered, Trump's probation officer is absolutely duty-bound at this point to recommend that Trump go to prison, not just for the 34 felonies he was convicted of, but now because he is in illegal possession of a firearm, a federal crime. Now, considering that Trump was railing against this verdict in a rally in Nevada the day before his pre-probation meeting, it's entirely likely that his probation officer will be seeing Trump as not very regretful and not remorseful for his actions, a fairly necessary component of determining his sentencing. And if we're lucky, with Trump being a convicted felon and possessing a firearm illegally, we'll see him be locked away in prison for just a little bit longer.